Let's be honest for a second. Why do women come back after rejecting you? One week, she acts like you don't exist, treats you like a complete stranger, or push you away like you never mattered to her. Then, out of nowhere, weeks or months later, she suddenly pops up in your DMs, acting curious, throwing flirty comments, or being overly friendly like nothing ever happened. It leaves most men completely baffled, staring at their phones and overthinking every single detail. You end up sitting there wondering if she finally realized how amazing you are, if she regrets turning you down, or if she's just playing cruel mind games with your head. Here is the raw, unvarnished truth, straight from a woman's perspective, that most people will never tell you. A rejection isn't always as simple as a lack of physical or emotional attraction. Sometimes it's about bad timing. Sometimes it's driven purely by her own ego. And a lot of the time, it comes down to who holds the power in the dynamic. When a woman reaches out to you months after turning you down, it is almost never for the sweet, romantic reasons you're hoping for in your head. Falling for the romantic illusion that she suddenly woke up and realized you were her soulmate is the exact trap where most men lose their mind, their time, and their dignity. You have to understand that women process rejection and distance completely differently than men do. A woman can push a guy away today because she feels overwhelmed, overly pursued, or simply too comfortable. Yet, the very second that man stops chasing her and vanishes from her life, her entire psychological balance shifts. The moment your attention disappears, her natural curiosity kicks in, and those dangerous little what if thoughts start creeping back into her mind. She begins wondering if she misjudged you, if you moved on to someone better, or if she lost her hold on you completely. That is precisely why we need to strip away all the sugarcoating and look at what is actually happening behind the scenes. Today, I am going to break down the exact psychological triggers that bring a woman running back after she said no, revealing what is truly going on inside her head during every stage of that process. More importantly, I'm going to show you step by step how you must respond to these mixed signals so you never fall into her validation traps, never surrender your self respect, and always keep your power completely intact. The ego factor. Why women test their power over you. When a one turns you down, she almost always expects a specific kind of reaction from you. In her mind, she anticipates seeing your disappointment, hearing your frustration, or best of all, watching you chase her even harder to prove yourself. That immediate, desperate pursuit is pure fuel for her ego because it provides undeniable proof that she holds total control over your emotions and your mood. When you react emotionally, send long paragraphs pleading your case, or try to convince her that she's making a mistake, you are handing her a massive power trip on a silver platter. It confirms to her that her opinion carries immense weight in your life, and that even after a clear refusal, you are still standing in line, waiting for her permission to like you. Now, fast forward a few weeks or months down the line. Imagine you did the one thing she never expected you to do. You accepted the rejection without throwing a tantrum, completely cut off your attention, and stopped chasing her altogether. Suddenly, the dynamic shifts, and her mind starts racing with unanswered questions. She starts wondering if you genuinely moved on, if you met someone more attractive, or if you simply stopped caring about her existence entirely. That sudden spike in her curiosity is almost never driven by deep romantic attraction. It is driven by a psychological ego check. A woman deeply dislikes losing influence over a man who once provided her with free, effortless validation. Reaching back out to you is often nothing more than her throwing a line into the water to see if your leash is still securely attached. You have almost certainly experienced this exact pattern unfold in real life. First, she rejects you with a classic, vague excuse, telling you she isn't ready for a relationship, that work is too crazy, or that she needs time to find herself. You take her at her word, pull back completely, cut off the texts, and focus on living your own life. Then, out of absolute nowhere, she likes an old picture of yours late at night, drops a casual emoji on your story, or sends a random, "Hey stranger, long time no see" text. She isn't reaching out because she woke up from a dream realizing you are her soulmate. She is doing it because your complete lack of emotional reaction unsettled her confidence. Your silence disrupted her assumption of control, and she needs to test the waters to see if she can still pull your strings whenever she feels like it. This precise moment is where the vast majority of men completely ruin their standing and lose all their leverage. The second that notification pops up on their screen, their heart races, their brain floods with false hope, and they instantly reply with high energy, eager responses, and immediate availability. By taking the bait so easily, you instantly confirm her dynamic of power. You prove that you were sitting around waiting for her. And just like that, her ego is fully satisfied, and her interest vanishes all over again. However, if you stay centered, grounded, and unfazed, treating her sudden outreach with cool, casual neutrality, or not prioritizing it at all, the entire power dynamic flips upside down. When she realizes her surface level games no longer work on you and that your attention can no longer be bought for cheap, her respect for your strength and self worth instantly skyrockets. When curiosity makes her miss what she rejected. Turning you down in the heat of the moment does not automatically mean she has closed the book on you forever. In fact, taking a rejection on the chin, shrugging it off, and walking away cleanly without a single drop of drama is often the exact psychological trigger that causes a woman to reevaluate her original decision. At the exact moment of rejection, she might genuinely believe that you aren't her type, that you were too easily accessible, or that the spark simply wasn't strong enough. But when you accept her boundary instantly, refuse to act bitter, and completely disappear from her social radar, an uncomfortable mental vacuum forms in her life. Humans naturally hate unresolved mysteries, and when she can no longer predict your moves or read your thoughts, her imagination starts working overtime to fill in those massive blanks. When a man vanishes without throwing a fit or begging for another chance, it forces a woman to confront a wave of psychological what ifs that she never anticipated. She begins asking herself if she judged you too quickly, if she was too arrogant in turning you down, or if another woman is currently enjoying the confidence and attention you used to give her. When you continue chasing a woman after she says no, you make yourself completely transparent, predictable, and frankly, uninspiring. You remove all trace of mystery from the equation. But when you shrug off her rejection as if it barely registered on your radar and keep building your own life, you instantly transform into a figure of intrigue. She realizes that your world does not revolve around her approval, and that detachment makes you look infinitely more valuable than you did when you were constantly pursuing her. This intense curiosity is precisely why a woman will circle back into your orbit after weeks of complete radio silence. However, you must understand the critical difference between her curiosity and genuine commitment. She is not coming back because she is ready to dedicate herself to you, but because she wants to peek behind the curtain and check if you are still sitting on the bench as an available backup option. She wants to see if you are still the same guy who wanted her so badly, or if you actually leveled up and outgrew the need for her validation. Confusing her restless curiosity with genuine love or regret is a fatal error that puts you right back into a cycle of giving away your energy for free. Until her actions clearly demonstrate consistent effort, real investment, and deep respect for your time, treat her sudden return for what it truly is: unsettled energy that you must handle with strict boundaries. The scarcity effect: why distance shifts her mindset. Human nature dictates that people naturally assign a much higher value to things that are rare, exclusive, and hard to come by. And the dating world operates on this exact same fundamental principle. If your time, energy, and constant attention were completely free and readily available to her before she rejected you, it was practically impossible for her to recognize your actual worth. When something is handed out with no effort required, it immediately loses its charm. turning what should have been valuable into something she takes for granted. But the exact second you pull your presence away entirely, cut off the steady flow of communication, and make yourself completely inaccessible, the massive psychological weight of your absolute absence begins to sink in. This sudden dynamic shift is driven entirely by the scarcity effect. When you completely stop feeding her ego with compliments, fast replies, and endless availability, she experiences an immediate, jarring drop in the daily validation she had grown accustomed to receiving from you. Women deeply dislike losing direct access to a source of attention that they assumed was permanently guaranteed and safely kept in their back pocket. When a guy suddenly stops reaching out, stops reacting to her social media posts, and frankly stops caring about what she is doing, that sharp, unmistakable contrast creates a powerful mental shockwave. It forces her to pause, look at the situation from a completely different angle, and seriously question whether she foolishly underestimated your value when you were standing right in front of her. However, you must understand a crucial truth about this psychological mechanism. Genuine scarcity can never be faked or staged as a cheap, performative game. If you are only pulling back as a manipulative trick while sitting in your room, obsessively checking your phone, and secretly praying for her name to pop up on your screen, she will intuitively sense that hidden, desperate energy from a mile away. Real, unshakable scarcity only occurs when you make a firm mental choice to genuinely move on with your life. Focus aggressively on your own goals and completely detach your emotional state from whatever decision she makes. That authentic level of self respect acts like a magnetic force because it sends an undeniable, silent message to her mind. Your world does not, under any circumstances, revolve around her approval or her presence. Control, attention, and the female psychology behind coming back. To truly understand why women resurface after pushing a man away, you have to recognize a key aspect of dynamic human behavior. Women often crave consistent attention and emotional validation far more than they crave actual structured commitment. Back when you were actively pursuing her, checking in constantly and trying to prove your worth, she felt in complete, uninterrupted control of the entire dynamic. Even if she had zero intention of starting a serious relationship with you, just knowing in her heart that she possessed your steady, reliable attention gave her a deep sense of security, comfort, and personal desirability. Your interest functioned as a free, ongoing boost to her self esteem that required absolutely zero sacrifice on her part. The exact moment you abruptly cut off that supply of free validation, the balance of power shifts upside down in a heartbeat. When she suddenly reappears in your life weeks or months later with a low effort text, a random meme, or a casual interaction on social media, it is almost always a calculated move to reclaim that lost sense of control. She wants to test the temperature of the water and see if she can reignite your old feelings with a single effortless gesture. If you instantly take the bait by replying right away, matching her energy with high enthusiasm and showing total eagerness to jump back into her life, she gets her quick hit of validation, confirms that she still owns your focus, and promptly disappears back into thin air. You need to train yourself to stop automatically assuming that every single comeback, text, or friendly check in is rooted in deep, genuine romance. In reality, most of these sudden reappearances are nothing more than cold, practical options management. She is simply taking inventory of her roster to see who is still waiting on standby. Instead of letting your emotions run wild, sit back coolly and observe her actual, real world investment. Ask yourself the hard questions. Is she demonstrating real effort, putting her own comfort on the line, and taking concrete action to build a real connection with you? Or is she merely fishing for a fast, low effort ego boost to kill her temporary boredom? Never, under any circumstances, hand over your valuable time and focus to someone who hasn't clearly earned it through consistent, undeniable effort. When she wants the benefits without the commitment. One of the most common reasons a woman will resurface in your life after turning you down is simply because she misses the comfortable perks you used to provide. She isn't reaching out because she suddenly wants a dedicated relationship with you. She is reaching out because she misses the free emotional support, the constant ego boosts, and the cozy, risk free attention she got whenever you were around. During the time you spent pursuing her, you likely established yourself as a reliable source of warmth, comfort, and validation. When you suddenly pulled your presence away, that loss created a noticeable void in her routine, and she quickly realized just how convenient it was to have a guy like you waiting in her corner. If you were the guy who acted as her late night therapist, listened to her vent about her bad days, and constantly made her feel special, she definitely valued your efforts. She just valued them as a free service, not as a romantic partner. When she drops a random text weeks later asking to catch up, grab a casual coffee, or check in on how you're doing, she isn't signaling a change of heart. She is running a subtle diagnostic test on your boundaries to see if her primary emotional safety net is still fully functional. She wants to see if she can easily slip back into accessing your valuable time and advice without ever having to offer you genuine affection, exclusivity, or a real spot in her romantic life, reciprocation, or a real spot in her romantic life. When a woman reappears acting overly friendly yet remains completely vague about her true intentions, she is setting up a one sided exchange where she gets all the benefits while paying zero cost. By playing along, acting accessible, and offering up your time without demanding mutual effort, you willingly place yourself right back into the backup zone. This dynamic will leave you mentally exhausted, emotionally drained, and deeply confused, while she walks away feeling satisfied, refreshed, and validated. Before you hand over a single ounce of your time or emotional energy, you must coldly evaluate what she is actually bringing to the table. If she isn't offering clear respect, effort, and real investment, close the door on the exchange immediately. Why her return doesn't always mean attraction. A massive mistake men make is automatically assuming that a woman's sudden return is proof that she has developed genuine desire for them. Reaching back out after a clear rejection rarely stems from a sudden wave of romantic attraction. Instead, it often comes down to pure convenience, temporary loneliness, or a rough patch in her personal life. Human behavior is strongly driven by comfort, and when a woman experiences a sudden drop in her personal life, whether her target relationship fell apart, her daily life became stressful, or her confidence took a hit, her natural instinct is to seek out a safe, familiar port in the storm. When things go wrong in her world, reaching out to a reliable man she previously rejected is the fastest way for her to soothe her wounded ego and feel good about herself again. She knows you were interested in the past, making you a low risk option for a quick boost of reassurance. That sudden wave of friendly texts or playful calls isn't romantic attraction. It is an emotional fix, and your focused attention is the drug she is using to heal her temporary insecurity. The moment her mood improves, her confidence returns, or a new romantic prospect enters her life, that temporary warmth toward you will vanish just as quickly as it appeared, leaving you right back where you started. A woman who develops genuine attraction and true respect for your time will never hide behind vague breadcrumbs, mixed signals, or half hearted check ins. When her interest is real, she brings absolute clarity, undeniable effort, and direct action to the dynamic. She will suggest concrete plans, respect your schedule, and make unmistakable moves to be near you. You have to train yourself to stop filling in the blanks with your own wishful thinking every time her name pops up on your phone. Stop treating her reappearance as a romantic miracle. Strip away your assumptions and strictly evaluate whether her real world actions back up her sudden return. The truth men don't like to hear, but need to. It is time to face a harsh reality that most men actively try to avoid. You have to stop treating a woman's sudden return like it's some kind of prize or personal victory trophy. The second her name pops up on your screen after weeks of silence, your instinct might be to celebrate, thinking you finally won her over or that your patience paid off. But celebrating her reappearance without questioning her real motives is the exact mistake that sets you up to be played. When you roll out the red carpet for someone who previously discarded you, you send a clear signal that your time is cheap and your boundaries are non existent. That lack of self respect is the very reason women feel comfortable treating certain men like revolving doors, stepping in whenever they need a quick ego boost and stepping right back out the second something better comes along. Here is the cold, unfiltered truth. If you allow a woman to walk in and out of your life entirely at her own convenience, she will never, ever respect you as a man. Respect is built on firm boundaries and self worth. And a man who bends his rules the moment an attractive woman drops a low effort text projects absolute weakness. Women are naturally drawn to strength, certainty, and self respect. And no woman genuinely desires a man she can manipulate, walk over, or use as a safety net. You need to look in the mirror and ask yourself the uncomfortable, direct questions you've been avoiding. Is this woman actually adding real positive value to your everyday life? Or is she simply using your valuable energy, attention, and focus to kill her temporary boredom until her life picks back up again? The solution is simple, but it requires backbone. You need to raise your personal standards immediately and hold the line. Not every woman who decides to circle back into your world deserves a second chance, especially if she dismissed you carelessly or tossed you aside without cause the first time around. Real strength in dating isn't about being cool, forgiving, and endlessly available whenever she randomly decides to call. True masculine strength is about valuing your own time, your peace of mind, and your dignity so deeply that you become the one who critically evaluates whether she even qualifies to be in your life anymore. When you step into that level of unshakable self worth, the entire power dynamic flips, and you stop being an option she tests and start being a man she has to respect.